A sudden car accident sends an office worker to another world. He wakes up in a new body, and upon opening his eyes, is horrified by the creature he sees. The hero stood and chanted a spell over the dead man's hand. While the monster was stunned by the sudden turn of events, the hunter was already, from his chest, replies mockingly to Gwen that a mere demon will not harm him. Gwen instantly backed away as Wu Gansi spoke, before Wu Gansi could turn away. He realizes that Gu Chen is already within striking distance because his real target wasn't Wu Gansi's life. Wu Gansi looks shocked as he notices Gu Chen has stealthily approached him. Confident, Gu Chen believes that his jade pendant will absorb Wu Gansi's hand because Wu Gansi is a ghost. The left hand of Wu Gansi transforms into a black blur of magical energy that is absorbed by Gu Chen's pendant. Wu Gansi cries out in surprise, realizing that his hand, that was dead, disappears. Gu Chen is thrown back against the rogue's back. Gu Chen confirms his suspicion that the dead man's hand is the source of Wu Gansi's power. However, it drained a large portion of his spiritual energy. Wu Gansi screamed, collapsing to his knees, and demanded his hand back. Gu Chen swept the Hanting sets his sword to one side, then kicks the sword up with his foot, answering the outlaw, pointing his sword towards Wu Gansi, and concludes his speech by saying that he will not return the favor to Wu Gansi. The sword pierces Wu Gansi's chest, ending his life. Gwen comments that without Detong's pendant, he would have died. Gwen then leans over Hanting's body, noticing his broken sword art. Gwen returns to the horse cart and realizes that it is better to advance along the Includer 40 path to defend against the other enemies. He takes another step and goes up the hill. Gu Chen studies the broken sword technique. At first, he thinks it is simple, but he had dealt him a crushing blow, eliminating him completely. A young man walks along, carrying a lantern in his hand to light his way. Suddenly, a noise coming from one of the rooms caught his attention. It is so versatile that it can be combined with other weapons. Gu Chen finds it convenient. Gu Chen walks through the forest and realizes that it's getting dark, and he needs to find a place to rest. Suddenly, Gwen looks up and sees a ruined building in front of him. He realizes that this place will be his shelter for the night. It's already nighttime. Gu Chen enters the building and notices a tall statue in front of him. The eyes of the great statue were shining. Gu Chen walked around the statue, intending to continue onward. Suddenly, he hears an unknown voice and sees a sword pointed at him. Gu Chen sees his men near the bonfire and tells them not to worry, explaining that he is just a passerby. The girl asks the man to put away his sword so as not to frighten Gwen. Gwen gratefully clasps his hands together and gives a slight bow. The young woman nods gently to Gwen, an old man. He offers Gu Chen a place to warm himself by the fire. Gu Chen thanks them again and sits down beside the fire, warming his hands. The small bonfire, it crackles, creating warmth inside the building. Suddenly, a voice shouts from behind, urging someone to go faster. A girl enters a building, and she realizes that there are many people inside. The stranger doesn't think they need to rest and tells the person in front to keep going. He quiets down when he sees other people and realizes that no one is listening to him anymore. A young boy, along with a girl, sits by the fire. He talks about himself and the name of. His attention was drawn to a noise coming from one of the rooms. He peeks through the doorway into the room, and what he sees causes him a slight panic. His clan. John Hanlon felt a little embarrassed when the girl showed him respect. The girl, Han Jin, talked about herself and the scholar they had met. On the way to the capital, Ging describes himself as just an average adventurer. Han Jin and the scholar remain silent, each looking in their own direction. The young woman and her uncle Lin also do not break the silence. Inside the building, the old man and a bewildered Jian Hanlon warm themselves by the fire. An absolute silence reigns outside, and darkness envelops the forest. Han Jin lightly taps his fist against his palm and suggests telling stories. After all, the night is long, and they need to pass the time. The scholar decides to be the first to tell a story, choosing the tigers, as Mrs. Han enjoys it. He recounts the tale of a ghost who was devoured by a tiger and then lured passers-by to the same fate. The girl understands the anger of the ghosts who assist the tigers that harm people. The scientist explains that it's not just ghosts. Gu Chen interrupts the conversation, wanting to tell a story. A story. Gu Chen introduces himself as Chan San and describes how he encountered passers-by at the temple during a walk and started a conversation with them. Suddenly, someone looked towards Chanan, interrupting the conversation and turning to look at him. A man stared at him, wondering why Chanan was talking to himself. Not understanding, he questioned the man. When the man stepped into his space, Chanan turned around and saw that the people around him were no longer there. Gu Chen Inside the room, he observes a young nobleman lying unconscious on the floor. A small demon is sitting on his body, gnawing at his skin. Finished his story. Han Jinjin hid behind Jian Hanlin's shoulder, suspecting that the people Chanan was talking to were ghosts. Gwen only said that she wouldn't know the truth. Jian Hanlin looked at Gwen silently, suddenly crossing his arms vigorously and labeling him as, "The stories of others are terrifying." He dares to tell his own story from personal experience, recounting how an evil Taoist practitioner of Qi turned corpses into zombies. Jian Hanlin happened to be in the nearby Haitian county. He concludes the story by telling us that he defeated everyone. The zombies with his sword. Jian Hanlin remembers how the moon shone that night, what the stars were like, and the feel of the wind. He looks away, comparing the previous night with today. It was already a buzzing night in the forest, and the wind was beginning to pick up. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew into the building, opening its doors. Gwen looked toward the entrance and realized something was happening in the courtyard. Zombies were appearing there, heading towards the building. Looking outside, Gu Chen asked if those were the zombies he had been talking about. Jay Hanlin fearfully denied it, saying that zombies didn't exist. They approached with a terrifying scream. Gu Cheng realized that the zombies were weak, but it wouldn't be easy to face so many of them. Han Jinjin wanted to lend him her sword to face the zombies. Jan Hanlin narrowed his eyes, feeling fearful and embarrassed, and thought that his sister was laughing at him. The demon turns and looks at the guy behind him, startling him. He tries to regain his composure and call for help. The guy quickly. Young man looked around, realizing that there wasn't much space in the building, and if the zombies gathered here, they wouldn't be able to handle them. Suddenly, they heard. A loud noise erupted, dust billowed, and stones from the wall began flying in every direction. Han Jinjin, along with her brother, looked toward the source of the commotion. The girl also turned her gaze to the side, realizing what had occurred. Gu Chen, having punched a hole in the wall, beckoned for them to follow him. The building burst into flames. Through the dense forest, everyone fled in terror from the zombies. Gwen and the children ran ahead. Gwen and the children realized that the zombies were rapidly approaching and chasing them at a breakneck speed. Gu Chen doubted that the fire in the plains building had stopped the zombies. The zombies scrambled forward on their hands and feet, lunging ahead. One of the zombies reached out toward a girl tries to grab her, but instead watches with a serious expression as a zombie suddenly slices off her arm. The girl shields her face from the blood, which drips as Uncle Lin protects her from the zombies, telling her to be more careful. Jian Hanlin pierces the zombie's head with his sword, informing her that their weak point is the head. Gwen cuts off the head of the zombie in front of him, listening to the guy's instructions. The scientist runs after Gang in terror. The scientist notices a path leading down the mountain and points it out, urging them to follow him. Jian Hanlin, hoping to save himself, grabs. He quickly jumps to his feet and runs off screaming, seemingly looking for trouble. He throws his lantern, which soon erupts in bright flames. The demon tears his sister's hand so they can escape together. Gwen, while fighting the zombies, yells at the children not to follow the scientist because something is wrong with the scholar. Disappointed, he walks down the path, emphasizing Gu Cheng's ingratitude because he suspects him. The scientist continues along the path, and the children take. Jan Hanlin grabs his sister's hand and asks her to follow the scholar, but his sister is hesitant. Meanwhile, Uncle Lin fights against the zombies, and the girl, he explains that it is better to believe Mr. Gu. Gu Cheng, punching a zombie, asserts that he has said everything he needed to say. Tearing apart the zombies, he ends his speech by saying that he cannot do anything to change the children's decisions. Jan Hanlin yells at his sister to run forward while he scratches at the zombies. Gwen, looking back, does not expect anything good from this scholar. Someone with a powerful force throws Jan Hanlin far away, and he crashes against a rock. Gu Chen looks around suspiciously. Han Jinjin runs towards her brother with a scream while trying to cough after the blow that Gwen took. He turned around, noticing that trouble had emerged from the thick forest. Something flew so high that it looked as if it could reach the moon. The demonic phantom. It landed on the edge of a cliff, standing firmly on its hind legs. Behind the rock was the silhouette of a man. Behind the rock, the scientist peered out, emitting his giggle. Gu Cheng and his girlfriend commented that what was happening was like a scholar's tale. Han Jinjin, worried about her brother, asks. In a rage, the man's skin cracks. A man awakens with a sharp, painful sensation in his chest. Opening his eyes, he is horrified by the exorment. Gwen to save him. Gwen is thinking that the situation is critical. Now, if we lose Jian Hanlin, it will get even worse. Suddenly, the demonic phantom, he leaps away from the rock with a jump and lunges at Han Jinjin, but she doesn't have time to realize he's behind her. The demon is taken by surprise. Receiving the blow from the sword beside him, he bounces back to the cliff from which he jumped. Moments before, with bright, bloodshot eyes, he realizes that he has managed to injure himself slightly. Gu Chen stands in front of the children and rebukes the demonic ghost while protecting them. Gu Chen looks back and asks Hanlin to take care of the zombies while he deals with the demon. Hanlin, painfully getting to her feet, agrees with Gu Chen and tells him to be careful. The demon lunges at Gu Chen with a powerful roar. Gu Chen notices the demon's powerful aura and decides to use the broken sword technique, Gu Cheng. Adopting the heavy sword form technique, he delivers a blow. The sword connects with the demon's body, unleashing a powerful surge of energy. Gu Chen. Tensely, he realizes the heavy sword form is a poor choice, but quickly devises a more suitable one. Gu Chen ascended rapidly as the demon was stunned. Gu Chen invoked the curse of the dead man's hand, slamming the demon to the ground with a devastating blow. Gu Chen descended to the ground. Upon impact, all the sand billowed into the air. The demonic phantom was completely crushed by Gu Chen's punch. Gu Chen hadn't anticipated that this hand, the creature in front of him, scratches at his skin. Terrified, the hero tries to detach the demon from himself with his hands, but it would be so powerful. The power of the demonic tiger began to be drawn into Gu Chen's body. This force was strengthening his body. Gu Chen began to surmise that, with each new demon death, his strength would increase. Behind Gu Chen, a scholar rejoiced in his newfound freedom after the death of the demonic tiger. Gu Chen, looking at the scholar from behind, asked, "What kind of freedom are we talking about here?" The scholar was still the same ghost who had been devoured by a tiger. So, Gu Chen produced a golden art seal, the astral deity art. The scholar turned towards the golden glow of the seal. Misunderstanding what was happening, he screamed in fear, but the seal had already taken effect, causing his disappearance. The power of Yin returned to Gu Chen's jade pendant, and he then realized that the power gained from killing ghosts was different. Gu Chen looked at his blistered hand and realized that he wouldn't have any problem. Practicing 2 cultivation paths at once, the girl glances back at Gu Chen. Gu Chen hears a moan coming from behind him and turns to look. Han Jinjin, while defending himself and his brother from the zombies, calls out to Gu Chen for help. Hanlin sees his sister struggling and speaks to her anxiously. Suddenly, Gu Chen kicks the zombie in the face with his foot. With his leg extended, Gu Chen dodges the zombies, attacking Han Jinjin. The zombie is sent flying into a tree after being struck. Because of Gu Chen's actions, Hanlin anxiously ran to his sister to see if she was all right. A crowd of zombies surrounded him in the depths of the forest. Gu Chen then, useless, fighting for his life, the boy clawed at the demon. The guy's jade pendant was gradually becoming stained with drops of demon blood because of turns back towards Hanlin. Fighting the zombies head-on isn't the solution, he says. We need to find the one who's controlling them. Surprised, Gu Chen intervenes. Hanlin loudly proclaims that if you kill the one controlling the dead, they will all fall. Gu Chen understands what he means and cautiously proceeds to search for this person. That side is where most of the zombies are coming from. Gwen guesses that whoever is controlling the zombies must be located there. In the distance, he spots the silhouette of an old man leading these undead. Gwen notices that the man is smiling. Gwen shouts to the children behind him to try and hold back the zombies while he deals with the man. Jianlin and Han Jinjin trust Mr. Gu and will assist him. The young woman crosses her arms, trusting Gu Chen. Jianlin and his sister are fighting the zombies. Hanlin confidently punches the zombie in front of him. Uncle Olin, also fighting the undead, provides support as well. Gu Chen swiftly moves toward the man controlling all the zombies, leaps onto a high tree branch, and then Gwen bounces off of it. Later, he advances toward the man controlling the undead. Addressing him, the old man laughs at Gu Chen and raises his hands. Thereafter, suddenly, everything in the bushes crackled and stirred. Zombies burst from the bushes, eager to attack Gang Gwen. He reacted quickly, summoning the hand of the dead man. With a wide sweep of his arm, he repels the zombies that were trying to attack him. Gwen lands firmly on his feet and curses the hand. Its bite. Suddenly, the blood-covered pendant began to change color, emitting a deep, intense green glow. The hero, lying on the ground, of the dead, in front of the man. The man is shocked to see the hand of the dead man and realizes that it belonged to the Xian Shiwu family. While the man was chattering, and Gu Chen quickly closed the distance, attacking him. The man became scared and, with a loud cry, begged Gu Chen to stop. He attempts to tell him something about himself. Gu Chen forcefully strikes the man's head with his hand, throwing him against a tree. Gu Chen looks at the decapitated body, saying that who that person is none of their concern. The children notice that the zombies have stopped moving and realize that Gu Chen has succeeded. Gu Chen cautiously confirms that the dead are no longer moving. Jan Hanlin fearfully points out Gu Chen's ruthless attacks to her sister, remarking that the world is a dangerous place and that you can't trust everyone. His sister wonders, surprised, why he believed the tutorial so readily then. Jan Hanlin answers, confused, that the little sister is already grown and can no longer be taught. The girl addresses the old man sternly, pointing out his culpability. He admits his mistake with a blank stare and asks him to commit suicide if it ever happens again. A few hours pass, and the sun has already risen. Finally, they descend from the mountain where the sun is already rising in the sky. Gwen crosses his arms and declares that this marks the end of his journey. The sister bids farewell to Gwen, expressing her wish that he teach her how to fight against monsters when the opportunity arises. Her brother cheerfully wishes him a good journey. The girl crosses her arms and lowers her head, expressing her gratitude to, in front of him, scratching at his skin. The demon remained strong, and then the hero decided that he could not simply watch and wait for his death, watched in bewilderment as the pendant's magic caused the demon to vanish. Suddenly, two women burst into the room, one of Gwen for his help. Gu Chen raises his hand and bids everyone farewell. 3 days have passed since then. The right-hand man of the head of Jin's Night Division wanted to, interested in Gu Cheng, who Tian Ying recommended to him. Gu Cheng sits on his knees, his hands folded in respect to Lord Chu. Mr. Kui reports that Gu Cheng has arrived on time. As they are short-handed, there are 2 defense warriors accompanying him. He adds that due to the last mission, they lost a lot of people. Gu Cheng remains cautiously silent as he listens. Mr. Kui smiles slightly and tells Gu Cheng not to be afraid, that he will work as a guard under Meng Huntian's night patrol, where he will be safe. Meng Huntian, the patrol leader, crosses his arms and expresses his displeasure at Gu Cheng becoming another one of his problems. Mr. Kui laughs lightly, assuring Meng Huntian that he is only putting on an indifferent act, asking him not to. He worries and introduces Gwen to Xiao, who will be his companion from now on. But first, he has to choose the path of the 9 classes of art. Xiao crosses his hands before Kui-san, accepting his words. Gwen goes out to the courtyard with Xiao Shang. Xiao introduces himself to Gwen, telling him that he can simply call him Xiao. Gwen thanks Xiao for his courtesy and walks with him as he leads the way. Xiao goes ahead of Gwen and points out the path. Suddenly, a monster bursts through the building's window, building with an evil scream. The monster quickly calms down, and Gu Cheng doesn't realize where it came from in the building. Yi Gu Cheng turns to Xiao. They became concerned about the boy's condition and called out to him. Nieto remained perplexed on the floor, watching the women and trying to understand what was happening. Wanting to know more about him, Xiao quickly explains that Sonong Chengshun is on a mission and seems bewildered by the creature. Filth tells Gwen to ignore him. Gwen wondered if this underhanded technique was sorcery. Xiao replies that the Jin only care about the result, not the process. They don't care about useless rules, and this method is fast. To achieve his goal, Gu Chen looks at the monster and realizes that he will be able to openly use his sorcery techniques in the future. Gwen is starting to like how the Jin's night unit operates. Xiao, opening the front doors, shows Gwen the vault. He tells Gwen that all the technicians from the 9 classes are here. Gu Chen realizes that his Jade Pendant allows him to absorb the Ki from ghosts, and with its help, he will be able to cultivate both martial arts. Gu Chen chooses one technique from each, Sword of Fire and Jin Charka. Xiao comments that Gwen wants to choose the path of dual cultivation, but Gu Chen denies this, saying he only wants to practice. Since Gwen has already finished picking him up, Xiao decides to take him to his room so he can rest. Xiao walks towards the exit, holding his head, and mentions that there are many missions currently, and he needs to replenish his strength. Gwen looks back, asking Xiao when the Night Division missions appear. Xiao doesn't know exactly, and informs Gu Chen that there will definitely be some tomorrow. It is already late at night, and the moon reigns in the sky above the simple houses of the. Suddenly, he became aware of the memories following the transition, and he realized that one of the women was his grandmother, Mrs. Jun's face. Population. A drunk man grumbles as he enters his house. He remains silent, looking towards a corner of the room. His wife is sitting on a barricade. In a corner, someone is noisily eating something off the floor. A man yells at a woman. The woman tells her husband in a strange, barely intelligible voice that she is hungry. He curses at his wife again, telling her to let him sleep. The woman gets up, turns to the man, and repeats that she is hungry, noticing that her husband seems to have an appetite. The man is suddenly startled when he realizes that his wife is a demon. The man's loud scream causes the birds to fly out of the trees. The next day arrives. The guards have been patrolling the houses since early morning. People are arguing about what happened at Old Wang's house, since so many guards gathered so early. Gwen and Xiao stand in the middle of the crowd, looking forward, and the people returns his gaze. Xiao comments that Gwen was unlucky, encountering the mission only a couple of days after his arrival. Gu Chen responds that it's better this way, since he'll get to know the Night Division soon. The sentry exits the house, reporting that the case is extremely violent. Xiao crosses his arms, bows to the people, claiming that this is the work of the impure. Cao Yinming and Hang Sisi, the Dark Defense warriors, position themselves in front of them. Cao Yinming states that the incident appears to be a mass murder, but no ordinary person is capable of such a thing. Gwen remains silent, and Xiao is surprised, expressed emotion, and she was in tears, while the other woman remained indifferent to the situation. Gwen, echoing the other's sentiments, quickly, wondering just how bad it is. Xiao quickly enters the house, wanting to see the image that shocked the two brothers. Zhu Jinmin confirms his thoughts. Xiao feels nauseous from what he sees, so he immediately leaves. Xiao, on the other hand, tells Brother Shou not to worry, claiming he has been defending the Dark Warriors for a long time, and that there is nothing he hasn't seen. Looking inside the house, Xiao is instantly shocked, and immediately feels nauseous, not realizing what it is. Zhu Jinming is not surprised by Xiao's reaction. Xiao catches a glimpse of Gu Chen confidently entering the house. Crouching down, Gu Chen draws someone else's blood on his finger and rubs it between his fingers. He stares intently at the two mutilated bodies in front of him. Behind Gu Chen, someone is surprised that he doesn't even flinch at what he saw. Brother Tao realizes that Gwen is far from being a novice. Gwen, alone. He asks how the people were killed. After a brief pause, Brother Cao reported that the man had been gnawed on, and continues by saying that the woman died from overeating. I don't think it's necessary to mention that she had overeaten. Wang Sisi adds that the bad guys have done everything possible here, and asks Xiao to look for any trace of yin energy. Brother Cao turns to Gwen and tells him that Xiaoji practices qi, and is familiar with auxiliary types of talisman techniques. Gwen, looking at Brother Cao, simply said that he had already realized that. Xiao takes out a yellow seal and holds it with 2 fingers. Gu Chen observes him from the corner of his eye. He quickly stood up and, scratching the back of his neck, argued that a demon wouldn't be able to finish him off that easily. Suddenly, the conversation is interrupted by a Xiao summons the Dragon Aspiration Talisman, sending it forward. The Dragon Aspiration Talisman checks each body and then returns to Xiao, informs him of what he discovered. The Dragon Aspiration Talisman vanishes, and Xiao reports that there is indeed a feeling of unease, a dirty aura, present in the house. Aura of filth. This aura has almost completely dissipated, making it impossible to pinpoint the ghost's exact location. Brother Chao comments that the case is difficult, as they don't know where to even begin searching for this ghost. Then, Gang has an idea, though he's unsure if it's correct. The brothers urge him to share his idea so they can consider it together. Gu Chen tells us that the woman must have gone somewhere to encounter the ghost. Discovering the woman's whereabouts will provide clues to the ghost's location. Xiao approaches Gwen, explaining that the woman has been to numerous places, making her difficult to track. Gwen instructs him to investigate his second deduction. Gwen approaches the guard at the entrance and inquires about similar cases where people have died from excessive eating. The guard turns around and replies, "There have been a couple of incidents like that recently." Gwen confirms his deduction as he exits the house. Gu Chen then asks Xiao to bring the map of Luo Xiao Yi. He wonders what he needs it for. Gu Chen confidently responds that it's to locate the ghost. After traversing a few streets, Gu Chen locates the ghost's location. Xiao is amazed that Gwen was able to pinpoint the place so quickly. Gwen, while looking at the map, explains that it's just a man entering the room, who immediately sensed the demonic aura permeating the house. Everyone noticed him and turned towards Tianyin, who was standing in the storm. Small trick. Gu Chen explains that he has plotted a trajectory on the map using lines, and the intersection of these routes indicates the ghost's location. Looking back, Gu Chen noticed an unfamiliar and suspicious beggar nearby. Observing the man, Gu Chen quickly realized from his cunning gaze that things weren't right. Soon, all the people on the street quickly vanished. Xiao tells Gu Chen that everyone on the street is gone. They then approach a beggar sitting on a small blanket with a large jug. Surprised, Xiao guesses that this beggar is the ghostly being they're searching for. Gu Chen corrects Xiao, saying that he isn't a ghost creature. The beggar then says that the pot in his hands is what Wan S was looking for. Wan S steps forward and turns around. asking why the others are frozen and urging them to greet the beggar. Wang Sisi approaches the beggar, who asks her for some water. Holding out his hand, Wang Sisi steps back, noticing the dark smoke rising from the pot. Brother Cao promises the beggar that he will give him some rice, and shows him the pot. The beggar takes the vessel in his hands, claiming that they aren't giving him anything, but only want to steal his treasure. He shouts that they deserve to die, breaking the pot over himself. Gwen realizes that things are going wrong. The brothers inform us to be careful. The beggar begins to be possessed by an unknown force. They inform us to be careful. The beggar increases in size, his body changes density, and he stands up in front of them. A huge monster rises. The hallway of the house turned out to be guarded by a member of the capital's Jing Night Division. Gu Chen becomes interested in an unknown man, and after, with a second mouth in its stomach, looks at them laughing, abruptly getting on all fours. The monster produces a powerful scream along with a jet. Judging by its energy, Xiao assumes that this being is a 7th-level spiritual being. The monster's hand quickly reached for them, and Brother Cao shouted for them to retreat. He produces a secret white bone technique, creating a bone shield. The creature strikes Cao Yinming's shield, causing him to fall to one side. Brother Cao slows the pace and sends messages to everyone to be prepared. Wang Sisi prepares to attack and lunges at the monster. The creature turns around and kicks Wang Sisi to the side, letting out a boisterous laugh. Cao Yinming produces the secret white bone technique again. Invoking the bone chain, the chain moves swiftly towards the monster and grabs each of its legs. Xiao takes out some seals, summons a yin-yang talisman, and he directs it towards the monster. When the talisman is positioned above the monster, Xiao commands it to fall. The talisman descends, immobilizing the monster against the floor. Xiao informs Gu Chen that it is now his turn to take action. Gu Chen swiftly charges towards the monster with his sword and summons a flaming sword, allowing it to pierce the monster's neck. Xiao observes that things are beginning to progress favorably, but Wan Jin notices that something is amiss. Gwen, plunging his sword into the monster's neck, remarks that the monster's body possesses immense strength. The monster lets out another laugh, its neck contorted and elongated many times. Contacting his grandmother, he learns that the man is Lord T from the Jing Night Department, a specialist in demon-related incidents. Tianyin inspects and walks longer. Gwen is taken aback, failing to comprehend what is unfolding. Gwen witnesses the monster's neck growing larger and longer. Abruptly, the monster reveals. The tongue still curses the demon in its mind. The creature's tongue shot out sharply, trying to grab Gu Chen. Gu Chen dodges the creature's tongue. The monster's sword bounces as it strikes. The creature's immense strength. The monster growls furiously, tears off its bone chains, and stands up. The brothers shout a warning to be cautious, as this monster's yin power has increased. Xiao is surprised that it's that particular hunger demon. The demon, noticing Xiao's presence, abruptly lunges at him to deliver a punch. Geng shouts anxiously for Xiao to avoid the demon. Xiao, over whom the demon pendant is already flying, interrupts. Suddenly, Geng sees the demon's hand knocked away by the sword of another man appears. Lord Meng forcefully removes the demon's hand and declares that he will handle the situation himself. The brothers happily take notice of him. Mr. Meng. Meng Sang easily cuts off the demon's arm with his sword. Xiao Yi is surprised by Mr. Meng's skills. Geng seriously asks. Xiao Si is injured, but he replies that he's fine, adding that since Mr. Meng is here, they can relax and have tea. Mr. Meng lands on the ground after cutting the demon's hand. The enraged demon roars, and Mr. Meng rushes toward it to deliver the next blow. With skillful movements, through the house, sensing the strong flow of yang energy emanating from the Ho residence. The melancholic guardian begins to suspect and worry that this energy is. Meng strikes both of the demon's hands. Geng was surprised by how fast Lord Meng's sword moved. Xiao enthusiastically confirms that Mr. Meng is the fastest swordsman in Yunyang province. Suddenly, the demon knocks down Lord Meng. Xiao stops abruptly, watching Lord Meng. Gwen realizes how Xiao directly has every chance of becoming useless. Brother Cao decides to help Lord Meng and invokes a secret doctrine, a bone spear, preparing to throw it at the demon, chanting the words to ensure the spear pierces the demon. Suddenly, the spear stops on the demon's tongue. Brother Cao realizes that the demon has caught his bone spear. Meng San's sword flies in circles and fleetingly cuts the demon's tongue. Brother Cao's bone spear falls to the ground. Lord Meng, holding his sword tightly, stands up on the floor. After his attack, the demon's tongue shrinks, and it growls in displeasure. Gu Chen recognizes this as a prime opportunity and advances. toward the demon. Gu Chen leaps to his feet and summons the hand of the cursed dead, channeling his fire sword. Gu Chen notices Lord Meng on the opposite side, who is also preparing to attack. Gu Chen calls upon the fire sword song, while Lord Meng invokes the ice sword. Together, they slice through the demon's neck, and its head goes flying. Xiao and the brothers are slightly shocked by what just transpired. The defeated demon collapses to the ground. Xiao remarks that, related to the man, alarmed, the young woman raises her voice to Lord T, expressing her doubts that any man would dare to do something like that. Lord, the division's missions are truly dangerous. A new power emanates from the demon's body. Gu Chen's jade pendant absorbs this power. He realizes that this is the power he gained from killing the hunger demon. The pendant absorbs two streams of power, one being yin power and the other. It strengthens Gang's physical body. Master Men notices Gu Chen Xiao's attainment of the 8th level of inner learning and congratulates Gu Chen on reaching it. Level. Gu Chen responds, saying it was all due to luck. Master Men orders the brothers to finish the job. The brothers then cross their arms and bow behind Master Men. Master Men turns to Gu Chen, signaling him to follow. Master Men walks with Gu Chen and explains that, at first, he didn't recognize Gu Chen's potential. Master Meng informs him that Gu Chen will receive great merits for this mission and instructs him to report later to the LOF. Jing Gu Chen's department expresses their gratitude to him. With his arms crossed, Mr. Meng instructs Gwen to investigate Jing, as there will be time to make a selection later. Gwen grasps 2 more techniques completely. Gu Chen believes that Mr. Meng is a kind-hearted person, and therefore working under him presents no issues. 3 days go by. Xiao remarks that the streets are calm after the demon incident. Gu Chen suggests that the street patrols can be discontinued. Then, Xiao inquires of Gu Chen which techniques he has chosen. Gu Chen replies that he selected the bone-cleansing treatise and the seal of golden radiance for his life. The hero retaliated by biting the mystical creature. Drops of demon blood seeped into the jade pendant, triggering mysterious changes that T looks at the woman carefully and informs her that, despite everything, the young gentleman is fortunate to be alive given the circumstances. Gu Chen tightens his demon suppression purposes. Xiao mentions that the bone-cleansing treatise will provide a foundation for inner strength, and the latter will assist with cultivators. This combination is truly excellent. Xiao is impressed that Gwen is so talented, yet still works incredibly hard. Gwen tells Xiao that he is far too modest. Xiao? He realizes that Gwen, unlike Shou Yinming, enjoys sleeping in brothels. He doesn't understand why it should cost money if all they are doing is sleeping. Gwen awkwardly says that he will learn about those things when he is older. Xiao notices a commotion in the crowd. Gwen offers to take a look. A man is complaining to a vendor, claiming that he was given a pear. The seller tells him that he is just a small merchant and asks him not to cause any trouble. The man shouts that, if she doesn't give him a pear, he will grow one himself. He opens his jar and pours an unknown liquid onto the ground. After being watered with this liquid, a tree sprout grows. Quickly, a tree laden with pears instantly sprouts. A man encourages the crowd to take as many pears as they desire from the tree. A merchant then, he notices that his merchandise is missing, collapses to the ground, and cries out that his pears are gone. Tears well up in his eyes because he needed to sell them to pay for his mother's subsequent treatment. The man mocks the merchant, saying this will teach him a lesson. Xiao points at the man and tells him how awful he is. Gwen stops Xiao and tells him not to worry because he will teach the man a lesson. Gwen approaches the man and informs him that this is his territory and how dare, hands and looks at Tai Tianyin, conveying his insecurity about being able to handle such a situation in the future. So he asks Mr. T to show him ways to, he behaves so brazenly. With a stern expression, Gu Chen says he will forgive the man and asks him to return the pears to the merchant if he acknowledges his wrongdoing. The man asks if Gu Chen has any complaints about what he's doing. Gwen takes the sword in his hands and points it at the man, saying, how dare the man call himself great in Gwen's presence? Gwen thinks the man is tired of living and assures him that he can help him with that. So, Gu Cheng suspects that the man is related to dark forces. The man laughs and calls Gwen and Xiao Mutz out after realizing they are of the night vision Jin. Gwen points out another violation by the man. The man jumps back abruptly, moving away from Gwen. 2 seals appear in the man's hands, and he affirms that Gwen doesn't have the strength to dominate him. The 2 seals gain power. The man calls upon the diamond priest who was protecting him, Xiao. Surprised by what is happening, he turns to Gang. A diamond priest appears behind the man, ready to teach them a lesson. Xiao offers his help. Since dealing with this priest will not be easy, Gu Cheng rejects Xiao's help. The man shouted in discontent, as Gu Chen called his technique ostentatious and simple. The diamond priest caught up to Gu Chen, preparing to strike him. Gu Chen bounces away quickly, and the diamond priest misses. Gu Chen jumps higher, summoning a secret technique. He produces a fire sword song, Rift, and attacks the diamond priest. The man is thrown to the side after receiving a save himself. Taetian Yin scrutinizes the man and takes note of Gu Chen's audacity in turning his back on Gwen. Mr. T points out two possible escape routes to Taetian Yin. Strong blow. Gu Chen is causing him great frustration. Suddenly, a long whip comes towards Gang. Xiao manages to warn Gang of the danger. He notices this long whip. His back bends as the whip strikes. Back at home, Gwen describes the man's reception as petty, a man holding the friend. Whip tightly reluctantly tells Gu Chen not to dare underestimate him. Gu Chen raises his sword and once again unleashes the technique of the broken sword. The whip of resolution, the white snake, extends toward the man with its whip to strike him. It bites the man's hand, and he releases the whip. Screaming in pain, he bounces against a tree, clutching his injured arm. The man wonders if the Dark Warrior's defenders possess such power. Gu Chen pulls his sword back and asks the man to stop resisting and go with him, if he still has any sense left. The man shouts that he will not surrender to them and stands his ground. Another seal appears on his forehead, followed by a violent explosion and smoke billowing out, accompanied by a loud laugh. Two identical men emerged from the smoke, both shouting that they are real, and they urge Gu Chen to catch them. Xiaole asks Gwen what to do next. Gwen tells him that he must try to figure out which one is the real one. Gwen looks at his jade pendant again and urges the spirit demon to come out. A spirit demon appears and immediately heads towards one of the men and stabs itself into the chest of one of the men, diligently trying to eliminate him. Suddenly, this double disappears and explodes. The man is surprised at being. He approaches the exit of the house and explains to Gu Chen the first method, which is only a temporary defense. With a serious expression, Gu Chen turns to Mr. T, discovered so quickly. The demon falls to the ground after the double disappears. The demon looks perplexed at the piece of cloth that it bit off from the double. Regarding Gu Chen, he describes the old man's acrobatics as amusing and childish. Suddenly, a man leaps from the rooftop to the ground. Gu Chen realizes the man is trying to escape and urges Xiao Ai to pursue him. They chase after the man, telling him he has nowhere to run. Suddenly, Gu Chen draws his sword and hurls it at the old man. The old man manages to dodge it, and the sword slams into the building wall. The man quickly gets to his feet. Gu Chen notices how frightened the old man is. Xiao Ai informs Gu Chen that this Taoist priest must be a member of the Luo cult. Gu Chen looks around and asks Xiao about the Luo cult. Xiao explains the three main cults: Luo, White Lotus, and Maitreya. They are powerful in their use of illusions that, while not lethal, can shake anyone's mind. All to prevent the cultists from disturbing the peace of the Great Qian Kingdom 500 years ago. The authorities dispatched troops to Liu Tian to suppress them. In recent years, however, signs of resistance against these three cults have emerged. Xiao questions why they need to appear here, considering Eastern Lin County falls outside Luo's sphere of influence. Xiao confirms this statement. If Gwen can't understand it, then I can't either. We should inform Master Meng about this first. Xiao enters the building, alerting the master to their return. Ask him about the second method. Already outside the house, Mr. T offers the boy a second option, to join Jing's night unit. On the roof of the boy, he notices the injured knight, and his expression immediately changes. Xiao asks what happened to Master Meng. Master Meng looks in the direction of Xiao and Gu Chen. Mr. Meng says they've received intel that a disciple who escaped from the Luo Huanjin sect has arrived here, and Xiao Jinming is with him. He and Commander Tsui prepared an ambush to capture him. To Meng Nan's surprise, the disciple was so strong that he managed to break through their defenses, but was riddled by Commander Tsui's purple ray, which coursed through his body, damaging his heart. So now the enemy has to hide in Luo to heal his wounds. Mr. Meng says they have received orders from above that if they can kill this Luo cult imposter, they will be rewarded. Gu Cheng comments that the reward is greater than that for the hunger demon. It seems that this rebel is very important. Xiao informs Mr. Meng that they have found a Taoist from the Luo cult has escaped. Mr. Meng believes they can also search for the traitor Luo. We need to spend some money, Wang Jin says. The county is so large that it won't be easy to find someone who knows how to hide well. Mr. Meng informs him that there is no need to delay, because the transport could leave soon and escape. Gang has an idea that might actually work. Lord Meng asks him to explain it. He says, there are definitely underground guilds in Luo County, and, With the help of the Night Division's resources, they can be recruited. Mr. Meng thinks it's building. The silhouette of a tall man with a katana can be seen. Gwen turns back to Tai Tianyin to make sure that this method will keep him safe. A good idea because, with their numbers and experience, they have a better chance of finding the traitor Luo. Mr. Meng asks Hang Jin to talk to Geng and plus, they will be of assistance. Gu Chen asks Wang Jin how many underground guilds operate in Luo County and which ones are reliable enough to offer help. Wang Jin replies that Luo County is worthy of many guilds, some larger than others, but the only respectable guild is the Blue Flower Clan. This guild has a monopoly over underground gambling and brothels. The brothel operations are overseen by boss Hua Qing, who suffered a traumatic experience at a young age during a conflict, which left him somewhat eccentric. Lei Peng, the deputy leader of the guild, is a formidable fighter and holds the second highest position in the Blue Flower Clan, second only to Hua Qing in terms of influence. Hua Qing places immense trust in Lei Peng, entrusting him with the entirety of the gambling operations. Wang Jin cautions that these two are not to be underestimated, and that if they outwardly agree with them, but he can't be sure if they will actually be helpful in the search. Gu Cheng thinks it will be troublesome if they cause delays. We deliberately have to think of a safe approach. Gu Chen asks Hang Jin how much he misses Hua Qing, and Hang Jin, embarrassed, speaks brokenly into his fist. Amidst these misunderstandings, Xiao Yi and Gu Chen observe Wang Jin at the Blue Flower training ground, where a man picks up a stick weighted with 2 large stones and sighs heavily. Lei Peng lifts a dumbbell behind the training beam. Hua Qing sits down, sighing in surprise as she does so. Lei Peng looks in Hua Qing's direction. Guy thinks about Jing's Night Division and remembers that they specialize in dealing with evil spirits. Tai Tianyin, speaking to Gwen with his back turned, warns her that her husband may be dangerous, but that he will undoubtedly teach her self-defense. Hua Qing stands up and comments that the deputy's physique has become increasingly strong lately, prompting Xiao Yi and Gu Chen to fall into an awkward silence. Wang Jin says that Hua Qing kept hinting, and they expected Hua Qing to have these kinds of predilections. Wang Jin adds that Lei Peng's subordinates, they are lucky, but not that lucky, as many have suffered at the hands of Joa Qin. Joa Qin asks his subordinate why he is crying, because he was told that he would have to give up his accounts. Cao Jinming says that Lei Peng is an excellent fighter who was unlucky to have such a head. Gu Chen pauses for a moment. Gu Chen. He offers to push the boat down the river and do favors for Lei Peng. Mr. Men asks Gwen how he is going to accomplish this. Gwen says that although Hua Qing and Lei Peng live in peace and harmony, Lei Peng surely harbors a grudge in his heart. Xiao claps his hands together and realizes that if he helps Lei Peng straighten out, Joaquin will be indebted to the Night Division, and when the time comes that they ask for his help, Lei Peng won't be able to refuse. Gwen, looking at Xiao, he confirms his words. Mr. Meng asks when Gu Chen is going to ignite that fire. Gwen responds that he needs Xiao's help for that. Geng interrupts, pointing to himself. It was a warm night outside, and the girls at the building's window were inviting passers-by to join them. Hua Qin lies pensively while a man sits at his feet, massaging his legs. Suddenly, Hua Qin slaps the man's cheek. Lord Tay leaves the choice to Gwen and withdraws from man, showing his discontent. Hua Qin kicks the man away from him. The man immediately backs away, apologizing profusely, and runs out of the room. A room, with joy on her face. The girl in the dress looks at the man. Hua Qing complains that none of these people are sincere. The girl approaches. At the end of the hallway, she says there is something strange outside, and that it would be easy to find. Joaquin looks at the woman again, asking what's so strange. At the same time, Gwen and Xiao, the women, are reviewing and discussing something between themselves. Gu Chen is sitting with Xiao, who offers him a drink, acting like passing for a girl. Gu Chen thanks him for his courtesy. One of the girls approaches them, offering to prepare the best girls in the house for him, since it is the first time they have come. Gwen is a little rude to her. The girl maintains an awkward silence and asks them to calm down because, in any case, she will not back down from his silver. Hua Qin asks Gu Chen not to be angry with his narrow-minded subordinates. Hua Qin says that if a guest is displeased, she will definitely side with them, and then the subordinates will apologize. Xiao hums in frustration. Hua Qin covers her face with a fan, thoughtfully. Hua Qin doesn't understand why Gu Chen has come to the brothel, since he doesn't like women. Gwen says it's just to teach his companion new tricks. Xiao embarrassedly pats Gwen's chest, playing along with the act. Hua Qin is surprised to notice how obedient Xiao is. Gwen reaches for the house, following the knight. The old woman asks a disturbing question, but receives no answer. The two women are about to leave the bowl, picks it up, and continues the conversation. He says that before this, Xiao was also a normal man, and was not obedient at all. Gwen reveals that in order to, Xiao became what he looks like now by pulling off a little trick. Hua Qin is interested in knowing more about it, and Gwen chuckles slightly before answering. He says he will tell them because of Hua Qing's sincerity. Lei Peng slams his drinking bowl loudly on the table and questions Gwen and Wang Sisi. He says that when he arrived at the brothel, he overheard that Hua Qin intended to give Lei Peng a poison that would turn him into a slave without free will. Wang Sisi says he came to tell them because he couldn't stand seeing Lei Peng being so openly insulted. A wary Lei Peng tells Wang Sisi not to joke about such things. He points at Gwen and asks how he could joke about something like that, because Gu Chen was also there and heard everything. Gu Chen leans in and confirms every single word of the brother. Wang Gwen raises his palm and swears that if there is even a single lie in his words, may he be struck by lightning. He looks back at Gu Cheng, thinking he is unworthy of the name his parents gave him. Those close to Lei Peng say that, knowing Hua Qing, it can be assumed that he would use such a sneaky method against Lei Peng because his brothers were given poisoned tea by him. Another subordinate approaches the entrance, about to give information. He goes to the deputy director of the room and tells him that Joaquin has prepared the dinner table and is asking Lei Peng to building, but one of them turns around and advises Lord Gu to rest after everything that is happening. The man is holding a jade pendant, be present at his residence to talk. Lei Peng understands and responds that he will go right now. Some realize that Hin himself has made the first move. Gu Cheng. He asks if the boss will take action tonight. Lei Peng remains silent, expressing his displeasure. The subordinates are shouting that it's time to confront the situation. Instead of tolerating how Joaquin bosses them around, Lei Peng sharply hits the table with his fist, irritably calling out Joaquin's name. Wang Sisi and Gwen look on both sides. Wang Jin reports that the Night Division has long disliked Joaquin's behavior, so Lei Peng can ask them for help for sure if he needs it. Lei Peng stands up and slaps the table again, requesting their help. Gwen attentively watches the deputy head of the room. Joaquin's residence. It's time for the meeting. Joaquin holds the jug in his hand and sighs, waiting. Joaquin carefully removes the cork from the decanter and opens it, remembering Gu Cheng saying that this medicine is called obedient powder. You have to put a little in someone's food, and they will be determined to be with you for the rest of their life. Jua Qin pours the contents of the decanter into the jug. Jua Qing politely asks the deputy head of the room not to blame him, because he loves him too much. Suddenly, he hears a noise behind him, and quickly hides the jug inside his clothes. The doors of the house burst open. Lei Pen greets the head of the room with his arms crossed. Jua Qing is surprised that the real deputy head of the room has arrived, and asks him to take a seat. Lei Peng began abruptly. The magical pendant, now covered in blood, slowly began to change color, shining with an intense green glow. The hero lay down. A pendant that had previously transformed. He remembers how this pendant, which he bought at the market, sent him to another world before a car accident. Seat at the table with Hua Qing. Joaquin pours wine into the bowl, saying that the deputy must be thirsty after traveling so far. He moves the bowl towards. Lei Pen offers him a drink. Lei Pen eyes the bowl of wine warily, picks it up, and tells the head waiter that he has been very busy lately, and that Lei Pen is upset because of it. Before that, he offers him a glass of wine. Jua Qing turns around, saying it's nothing, and that the man should drink first. Deputy. Lei Pen wondered why the head waiter was being so evasive and if he had added something to the wine. Lei Pen brings up the example of obedient dust, and Joaquin is surprised and becomes suspicious. Joaquin anxiously asks if the assistant head waiter is joking. Lei Peng clenches the bowl in his fist, causing it to crack. He shouts that he was patient with Joaquin in everything, but that he had allowed himself to be deceived by others too often. Joaquin falls even further into shock. Gu Chen. Xiaosei abruptly takes off his hat. Gu Chen interrupts, telling Lei Peng to finish off Hua Qing already. Hua Qing is surprised. Recognizing Gu Chen asks Hua Qing if he knows that it's a good idea to shut his mouth before dying after uttering his name. Joaquin throws everything, the food off the table, and turns towards Lei Peng. Gu Chen draws his sword, pointing it at Hua Qing, saying that in a situation like this, Hua Qing doesn't need to resort to tricks because nothing will work, and he will die anyway. Lei Peng uncrosses his arms. Gu Chen and Lei Peng face off. Gu Chen notices that the man is resisting. Gwen also mentions that the pendant had previously contributed to the demon's disappearance. the jade pendant suddenly begins to shine intensely. Gu Chen quickly cuts the table into 2 pieces with his sword. Gu Chen realizes that something is wrong. Hua Qing grabs the sword from the wall and draws it. Turning with his sword in hand, he threatened Gu Chen, quickly looming over him. Gu Chen invokes the broken sword technique, and Joaquin, Dark Sword Night Wind. Their swords clash loudly. After exchanging several blows, both have light scratches on their cheeks. Blows. Joaquin's back is turned to the deputy head of the ward, Lei Peng, who is looming over Hua Qin, ready to punch him and wishing for his death. Joaquin. He looks around and tries to deflect another blow with his sword. After taking Lei Peng's blow, Joaquin is thrown to the side, along with his sword, and screams in surprise. Without understanding, Joaquin is thrown through the building's window and lands in the courtyard. Hua Qin collapses to the ground after a powerful blow from Lei Peng. Gwen reports that Hua Qin does not. He can save himself by simply dodging. Joaquin realizes that these fighters are well trained and that he won't be able to get rid of them so easily. He has to think of a way to escape from here. He stands up and looks around, spotting 2 guys. Joaquin realizes that the Night Division has been throwing obstacles in his path from the very beginning. Huang Si and Cao Yinming explain that Hua Qing realized it too late. Qin is about to flee, questioning how the Night Division can consider themselves good people after this. Behind the tree, Gwen can be seen saying that a bright green light appears in Gwen's hands, startling him. He looks around sharply and realizes that the pendant has transported him back to, can handle Joaquin himself. He adds that Joaquin cannot escape. His sword burns with a bright flame. Gwen comes out, informing Hua Qin that, here, his journey will end. Hua Qin stands before Geng, telling him he is nothing more than a dog of the Night Division and that he thinks too highly of himself. He shouts that anyone who dares to stand in his way, will die. Joaquin calls upon the dark sword technique, the 8 sides of the world. Geng observes this action with his sword and notes that it is powerful. Joaquin jumps up, pointing his swords at Geng. Geng confidently prepares to counterattack Hua Qin. Hang Jin and Cao Jinming cautiously observe the man who suddenly arrives. Waves of powerful impact threw them aside. Gu Chen confidently stands on his feet and confidently lowers his sword again. When the smoke clears, Hang Jin and Cao Jinming are slightly shocked by what is happening. The punch from Gwen struck a part of Joaquin's body. He looks at Gwen again, exclaiming that it's impossible. Gwen looks up and bids farewell to Joaquin. Joaquin shouts that even if he dies, he will drag Gwen down with him. Joaquin spits out a blood clot, laughs maniacally, and something begins to form from the clot. Joaquin screams about the bloody baby he traded with the shaman in exchange for his life. Today was the perfect day to perform the sacrifice. With the blood forming into a baby, Joaquin adds that she and Gwen will burn together in hell. Gwen calmly summons the demonic hand of the dead man, the baby, another dimension. In the distance, Gwen sees the demon that had attacked him before. He recalls his earlier thoughts about the pendant sending this demon to another. Bloodied, the infant abruptly lunges at Gwen. The small creature begins to wail loudly as soon as it reaches Gwen. Gwen eliminates this infant. Bloodied from a light punch, Gwen wipes his ear, remarking that the child is too loud. Gu Chen's weakened body falls to the ground. Joaquin watches with admiration, noting how strong Gu Chen is. Lei Peng approaches Gu Chen's corpse. His subordinates are glad that Joaquin is gone. They embrace through tears, saying that heaven has heard their prayers. Xiao wonders why those people are crying. Gwen awkwardly replies that, here, everyone. They are all people with unique and special life experiences. Lei Peng thanks the brothers of the Night Division for their help. Gu Chen responds that fighting evil is the Night Division's primary task. Lei Peng says that he is now in the Night Division's debt and asks them to contact him if there is anything can help. Gu Chen responds that there's a matter for which Lei Peng's assistance is needed. He tells Lei Peng not to hesitate and to share his request. He wants to ask for help in locating a magician named Luo Xiaoyi. He crossed his arms and remained silent, expressing his displeasure. Gu Chen calms Xiao while holds a bowl. Someone heads towards the house at a brisk pace. Wan Jin opens the doors and announces Lei Peng's news. The man has been found. He excitedly asks where the magician is. Wan Jin replies that, unexpectedly, this young man was hiding in a brothel. Gu Chen remarks that this is indeed great news, world, and it turns out he was correct. Gwen takes a look at the pendant, and while clutching his head, he doesn't understand what is happening with it. He suddenly realizes and orders the immediate assembly of the Night Division to capture this magician, Luo Yao. Mr. Meng informs him that he will accompany them as well. They want to discuss Mr. Meng's injury, but he cuts them off, saying it's not a problem. Wang Jin informs Mr. Meng that Lei En has. They've uncovered some clues that the other troublemakers were also searching for Luo Yao. He inquired whether these individuals would cause them any trouble. Mr. Meng replies that if they show up, they'll catch them, which will save them a great deal of trouble. Outside, it is pitch black. Luo is sitting in a room at a brothel. Beside him, at the table, sits a displeased girl. Luo Yao concentrates, and a magical power emanates from him. He shouts, "The beginning of all beginnings, I beseech the Pure Land to bless my body." Suddenly, Luo Yao coughs up blood. He realizes he must heal his injury before they come for him, especially since the Night Division. She continues to give her a home. The girl snuggles next to Luo Yao, wondering why she doesn't want to move in with them and how she has lost all her savings. The girl, she snuggles closer and promises to teach the boy a lot of tricks that he's sure to like. Luo Jiao gave the girl a stern look, ordering her to leave immediately. Would leave. The girl growls at Luo, displeased. About to leave, she slams the doors, exits the room, and continues talking to herself, crossing her arms in dismay. Suddenly, someone covers her mouth with the palm of their hand and drags her away. Xiao pulls the girl towards him, hugging her. That the demon from the past is no longer aggressive towards him. It occurs to him that the pendant possesses additional powers. The demon abruptly emits a shriek. Tightly, the girl notices other people and becomes even more scared. Gwen looks around and tells the girl to be quiet. The fearful girl, Muji, and Xiao followed. Covering her mouth, Luo Yao was suddenly alarmed to hear noises coming from the other side of the door. Gu Chen, Wang Jin, and Xiao Yin Ming were near the door, getting ready to enter. Gu Chen roughly kicks the door open, enters, and shouts at the wizard Luo Yao not to try to escape again, because he will be captured anyway. He notices that Luo Yao is already trying to escape. Luo Yao is about to jump out of the window, saying that Gu Chen is incapable of catching him. Realizing that things are going wrong, Luo Yao immediately jumped out of the building's window. As he says this, he lands solidly on the ground. He notices a sharp splinter flying towards him. Luo Yao catches it in the palm of his hand, avoiding a direct hit. Luo Yao then focuses his attention back on Mr. Menk, and he turns to him, irritated. So guys, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, let's aim for 1,000 likes on this video. Also, subscribe to the PASA channel, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. See you in the next video. Shrill, he points the guy in some direction. Mr. Gu looks at the demon and realizes that it could help the team escape from here. The demon ends up on Gwen's shoulder, who closes his eyes to concentrate and try to exit this dimension through the green glow. He and the demon are returned together to their previous world, lying on the ground with the demon. Gu Chen realizes that this ability consumes too much spiritual energy, but considers it a great means of self-preservation. He turns around, thinking the demon is useless, to which the demon reacts fearfully to his gaze. Suddenly, a purple smoke on the ground and watched as the pendant's magic contributed to the demon's disappearance. While the hero was confused by what had happened, A begins to emerge from the demon. From this smoke, a ring begins to form, and within it, two silhouettes can be seen, a woman and a man inside. From inside the arena, a conversation unfolds. The woman is indignant that only the man seems unaffected, instead of Gu Chen, while the man writhes and squirms. He wonders why his soul demon has lost contact with him. Gu Chen's expression shifts as he realizes that his own aunt orchestrated his assassination attempt. Gwen trains at the Ho residence training grounds. Lord Tay focuses intently, preparing to strike the rock before him. Suddenly, Gwen strikes the stone, shattering it. Lord Tay is astonished by Gwen's punch as Gwen rubs his hand after the impact. Tay Tianyin praises Gwen's abilities. Of Gwen, believing that he has already crossed the initial threshold of cultivation, the boy states that it is all thanks to the two techniques that Lord Tay taught him. While teaching him, Master Tay tells him that it's only a foundation and advises Gu Chen to improve on his own in order to become even better. Young Master Gu crosses his hands before Tay Tianyin with understanding. Tay Tianyin, looking at the stone broken by the blow, asks Gu Chen which of the two paths he will choose. Gu Chen wonders if it's possible to practice both. Master Tay says that human energy is limited, and it would be difficult to reach the peak in both. Master T speaks about the 9 stages of martial arts, listing them out. T Tianying, turning his gaze to Gu Chen, suggests that he first practice martial arts. An unknown man dressed in a sharp suit assigned the protagonist to the Night Division. Jin became a hunter, clad in a martial arts and learn key refinement as an additional tool. Gu Chen accepts his words and then asks him which path he chose and what level he reached. Mr. T, with his hand placed on the stone, cultivates a martial path, after which he turns around sharply. A moment later, the stone shattered into small pieces, demonstrating that Tianjin possesses a 7th level of martial arts, a bone-breaking blow that could shatter even gold. Gwen is in awe of Mr. T's skill. Turning his gaze towards Gwen, Mr. T wondered why he had agreed to join Jin's Night Division if he was the son of the valiant Ho. Gwen argues that the world is in chaos and no one can protect him except himself. Through the dust that has risen from the shattered stone, they observe each other intently. Tianjin praises Gu Chen for his ambition. An old man appears behind Geng and informs him that his wagon, it's ready. The man bows slightly with his arms crossed and announces that it's time for Gu Chen to depart. Gu Chen bids farewell to Mr. T, leaving him. As they depart, the sound of hooves echoes as the horse halts beside the carriage, ready for the journey. Grandma carefully asks Gu Chen to take care of himself. Upon arriving in Heen, the boy gently takes his grandmother's hand and implores her not to worry. Uncle Gu Cheng's second son. Gu Cheng crosses his arms and wishes him a pleasant journey. Geng places his hand on his brother's shoulder and expresses his gratitude. Geng smiles at his brother, thinking his brother is the dark attire specialized for dealing with inexplicable creatures. The hunter examined the dead man and realized he had died from overeating. I don't think. Reason his aunt wants to get rid of him. The aunt sighs heavily, saying that it pains her to see Gu Chen leave in this manner. Suddenly, Gu Chen looks at his aunt and asks her not to worry. Doubting this woman yet again, the coachman cracks his whip and kicks the horse to make it get going. The carriage starts moving, pulling away from his relatives. Gwen looks out the carriage window and whispers quietly that, even so, he will return. Here. Already looking disdainful, Gu Chen says that he will return to trample this capital city. Gu Chen rides in a carriage along a forest road, sitting calmly and confidently in the wagon. Suddenly, some men appear in front of the carriage, causing the coachman to stop the horse. The person inside the carriage becomes cautious. These men turn out to be outlaws, Hanting and Wu Gansi. The coachman informs Hanting that Gu Chen is in the carriage and unarmed. Hanting then tells the taxi driver will receive his reward later, but is suddenly beheaded. Wu Ganshi asks the second outcast if he can handle Gwen with a. Looking back, Han Tinu tells him to trust him. Hanin gently approaches the carriage where Gu Chen is. Using the edge of his katana, he lifts the cloth. By the cart, a small blue bag flies towards him, but he simply smiles and prepares to open it. As he brandishes his katana to open the bag, he is surprised by the contents. He narrows his eyes sharply and screams, realizing it's gunpowder. Suddenly, a sword shoots out from under the carriage, aimed directly at him. I need to tell you exactly what he ate. Looking back, he noticed an unfamiliar and suspicious beggar nearby. The hero observed the man, and, at high speed, jumping out of the carriage, Gwen pierces the other person's chest with his sword. Seeing Hanting attacked, Wansi screams and calls out to him. Wounded, Hanin didn't fall to the ground. Surprised that Gwen had a weapon, Gu Chen simply hummed. Looking at his fallen enemy, he was mentally pleased that his pendant, the Deton, could store weapons, which helped him to attack his enemies by surprise. Wansi, seeing his brother killed, rushes towards him, screaming. Gu Chen notices him, and, with a strong, sharp kick, sends Hanting flying towards his brother. The body flies into Wansi, and he expresses his surprise as he looks at Hanting. Gwen stealthily approaches Woogie from behind, but Woogie notices him. Gwen delivers a powerful punch to the outlaw's arm. Of the outlaw, Gwen is surprised that the sword strike didn't injure Woogie's arm at all. The bandages on Wansi's arm began to rise. Suddenly, a powerful, clawed hand emerges from beneath the bandages and instantly reaches for the guy. Wansi strikes Gwen's chest with a powerful kick, sending him flying sideways and embedding his sword in the ground. Gwen stops himself and spits out a clot of blood. Wug Ganzi laughs at the uselessness of Gwen's ordinary sword. Wug Ganzi's left hand has a demonic appearance. It is many times larger than a normal arm, and the arm has grown to the full height of an outcast. Gu Chen, with a look of hatred, realizes that this is why Wansi's left hand emits. Quickly realized, from the cunning look in his eyes, that something was amiss. The beggar transformed into the monster that had ravaged the area, a yin aura. He decides to deal with it first. The gloomy Wug Ganzi, raising his hand towards him, mocks Gu Cheng's inexperience and states that Gwen doesn't stand a chance against his dead man's hand. Gwen realizes that the outlaw's arm must be the cut of death technique. Veins. Wug Ganzi used his own blood to fuel the dead man's limb, concentrating all of his power into it, confident in his chances of winning. Gwen tells Woogie not to underestimate his opponent, Wugi gritted his teeth and pointed at himself. Gwen pounces on Gu Chen, shouting menacingly. Gwen points with his sword at Wug Gansi without hesitation. Gwen's sword collided with Wug Gansi's massive arm in a powerful and forceful blow. Gwen's sword sank in under the force of the blow. Gwen cautiously assesses the strength of his sword, and Wug Gansi screams, wishing for the sword to break. Gwen's sword shattered into pieces with a muffled, thunderous sound echoes. A surprised Gwen stumbles back, reeling. Wugi surges forward, wishing death upon Gwen. Gwen then invokes a spirit demon. Her jade pendant begins to emit a brilliant green radiance. The pendant unleashed a bright and powerful wave of magic, blasting the enemy away. Wugi, the enemy, returns to the ground and attacks using his feet. Wugi notices a small demon affixed to his chest. Wugi wonders how Gwen is able to control this demon, if it has been summoned at the 5th level. Gwen says irritably that Wugong is asking too many questions for a dead man. Wug Gansi, removing the demon,